This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Connor, it's good to talk to you, man. How are you?
You know, I'm doing better than I think the people of the great state of Arkansas. I feel for everyone. I do, and I can't say that I empathize, but look, this was about as bad as one could have expected in any world, and that's in the rearview mirror, and I think that's the good news.
Yeah, we just wonder what it looks like moving forward with Kenny Guyton as the offensive coordinator, and you got a week to let the players rest, or a little less than a week before they bring them back, and then start preparing for Florida. And what they hope is is at least, well, I don't want to worry about a flourish. You just got to worry about playing well and finding some semblance of an identity offensively on Saturday. We don't know exactly what that looks like. You know, I mean, Kenny Guyton coached with Kendall Briles previously at Arkansas and Houston, so maybe RPO. But I was just so surprised that the offense looked as bad as they did under Dan Enos, and then he never did anything to adjust.
Yeah, it was pretty alarming to see the stretch that Arkansas had been through and to see the fight that we saw late against Alabama, and that crowd looked like it was ready to go, and then to come out as flat as they were, and there was just no creativity whatsoever. Why they still insist on having running backs blocking when they can't pass block is beyond me. KJ doesn't have any sort of safety valves yet. Receivers don't really have the ability to get open in this scheme, and KJ is just a sitting duck back there, and it's just so unbelievably hard to watch. I know I've said on these airwaves countless times how much I love KJ, how much I respect his game, and how it pains me to watch him be put in these spots when we've seen what he's capable of. It was as tough of a game to watch in the SEC as any in recent memory. And I watch them all. I've watched many a Vandy football game here, and that game was it was just a nonstop, never-ending cycle of pain.
Yeah, I'll admit I was wrong. I thought Dan Enos would come in here and have success, and the Dan Enos experiment, it didn't really work. So they're going to go on to something else. So that being said, what does Arkansas try to accomplish these next 4 games?
Yeah, look, right there with you. Freezing cold takes got me yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw that. I got hit pretty good. My old tweet from, when was this from? Oh, yeah, it's from January. My tweet in January read, considering the timing, getting someone as accomplished as Dan Enos feels like a massive win for Arkansas. Worked wonders with Talia Tagovailoa. Was a key reason why Jalen Hurts developed his passing as a backup at Bama in 2018. KJ is in good hands. I said that. In hindsight, just a bit off, just a little bit off. It was so unbelievably bad. And now that's the tough thing, is that you don't even know what this team is good at. Like, you don't even know who could step in and figure out a strength of this team, because, yeah, you've had some great moments. I think going back to what they did against LSU, but obviously that was with a little bit more of a healthy team. And so this roster, which is now depleted, I don't know, like, what scenario exists in which they become even a decent offense. I would think KJ getting to run the ball more would be that, and even given how much how much punishment he's taken, I don't know how likely it is that they really want to do that. But yeah, it's going to be ugly, and I don't really know where they turn to find some sort of offensive identity.
Well, I guess there were some other games that happened. I mean, we haven't talked about a single other game across the country other than Arkansas, Mississippi State.
7-3 thriller. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't want to watch any more football after that, Connor. I didn't watch a single NFL game. I didn't watch another college game. I'm not watching the Monday night game because we got 2 baseball games, and that's going to get my interest today. So I didn't watch any other football. What game to you stood out on Saturday?
I don't blame you, man. Look, at least baseball's got more scoring than that. That was so bad. Yeah, look, I think on Saturday, my eyes were going to be glued, of course, to Tennessee and Bama, and seeing the way that Tennessee showed up in Tuscaloosa, put together the best first half of any team in that stadium since 2019 LSU, to be up 13.5, and then, of course, the second half reality sort of set in Tennessee. I want to say midnight struck on the Vols, and Alabama did some very Alabama-like things. Seeing this team that still has total control over the SEC West, I think is really interesting. I know Arkansas has not anywhere near being considered in contention in the division race, obviously. But at the top, I think a lot of people are wondering, man, how is Alabama going to find a way to get to Atlanta with the struggles they were having early? And they just find ways to kind of weather the storm. They continue to fall behind at halftime. It doesn't really matter. And that's kind of a scary thing, in my opinion. And meanwhile, yeah, Tennessee looking like a team that seems destined for 8-4. It doesn't really have the upside that I think some were hoping for. And I think the drop-off from last year was pretty noticeable.
Connor, you got two SEC teams. Ole Miss is 6-1 and Missouri 7-1. Which one of those teams do you believe in more?
I think I believe in Mizzou. I think Mizzou is like a really good 9-3 type team this year, and I think that there are a lot of people that are waiting for them to face elite competition, and maybe if they get smacked against Georgia or something like that. I think there are a lot of people that are just going to be out on Mizzou, but in many ways, this is kind of what you need to do if you're a program struggling to take that next step. You need to reassess how you view play calling. You know, we're talking a lot about, obviously, today, the failed hire that was Dan Enos. What Mizzou has done by going out and hiring Kirby Moore to run that offense that was previously run by Eli Drinkwitz, that has been such a godsend for that program. And getting Blake Baker to agree to that extension right around this time last year has been really beneficial. They are so improved defensively, and that's a team that has an identity, and they can kind of beat you in a lot of different ways. So, like, Mizzou is a team that, like, if they get smacked, people are just going to say, "Oh, you see what? Like they're a fraud, whatever." No, I think they're going to a Florida bowl game. I think they have a chance to go to a New Year's Six bowl this year, and it wouldn't necessarily be considered that much of a surprise based on what we've seen so far.
Third year there for Drinkwitz. Third year for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Or fourth year, sorry. They're having the kind of success I think that was more of a, well, for Mizzou, it's been a slow build. It's been a slow build there. And, you know, I mean, do you look at the second year that Coach Pittman had here at Arkansas, 9 wins, and it's like, well, it was too much success too early? Is that a fair way at all to look at it?
I don't think so. Look, and yeah, maybe it elevated expectations, but you're going to have to make a step up at some point. I mean, I think it's just different circumstances. We have different perspective about Mizzou because they have a head coach who got an extension at the end of year 3, near the end of year 3, even though he had never had a winning record at Mizzou. I mean, that's a testament that he was able to negotiate that and up that buyout to about $20 million. I mean, that was an unbelievable thing that Eli Drinkwitz was able to pull off. But, you know, having this season the way that they have, like, the timing of it's just different. Like, Mizzou fans have been waiting on a season like this for a while, and he's had to endure a lot of negative attention that Sam Pittman is just getting right now. So, like, everybody inherits different situations. Mizzou, you know, Barry Odom, the program that he left, Eli Drinkwitz, was in a much different place than the one Sam Pittman inherited. And, yeah, maybe that timeline and that rebuild that was expedited and really was much quicker than a lot of us thought would happen. I think that we play the results with that. I don't think it's fair to say that it necessarily did Sam Pittman in dirty. At some point, if you're going to be a coach for the long haul in the SEC, you got to show that you can sustain success. And he hasn't been able to do that at the level that many thought he would after he agreed to that extension.
Connor, that out west, the Utah-USC matchup, Utah able to get a victory. They face Oregon this week, although Oregon has to travel to Utah. How do you like in that game?
It's hard to bet against Bryson Barnes, the pig farmer, who has just done an unbelievable job filling in for Cam Rising and the plays that he was making out of the stretch. I was glued to that one late. That was an incredible finish. I'll give Oregon the nod. I think Oregon's still a really good football team despite the loss to Washington that could have gone either way. Bo Nix still very much a part of that Heisman Trophy conversation, even though they obviously do have that loss. But I think Utah is still pretty limited offensively, and I think while they were able to beat the USC team that doesn't have much of a defense, they'll see a much, much different Dan Lanning coach defense than the one that they faced against Alex Grinch. So I'd give the nod to Oregon in that matchup. But, man, Utah is just a really, really tough out.
What about the cocktail party, Connor? We need Georgia to beat the stuffing out of Florida and really, like leave them bruised and beaten so that Arkansas faces, a team that's coming off getting their head handed to them. Is there a chance we should see that happen, or is Georgia not quite the same without Brock Bowers?
both things can be true at the same time. I don't think Georgia will be the same without Brock Bowers, and I think it makes the Florida matchup a lot more intriguing. Florida finally getting over the hump and getting that much-needed solid road victory. I mean, winning at South Carolina, take it for what it is. They're also a 2-win team, but still, it felt like a very pivotal game for Billy Napier. I think if you're an Arkansas fan, if you're watching this game, you're hoping that this is going to be a good down-to-the-wire game, that Florida has like some sort of moral victory loss. Because if they're coming in like after getting smacked against Georgia, they're going to be pretty frustrated. And even Florida, in this really rough stretch that they've been in, basically since the start of 2021, or really the end of 2020, they've still been really good at home too. So it's not like they're going to be a doormat, even if they look awful against Georgia. I think Billy Napier has a young team that's figuring some things out. Graham Mertz executing that system. That ground game is still really good. They will test Arkansas, obviously, and that's going to be a difficult game for Arkansas to break out of this losing streak.
Connor, what's the latest with Michigan with all that? Was it Spygate or whatever's going on with Harbaugh? How do you see them? Anything can anything affect Michigan?
I don't think so. Look, they got more votes in the AP poll for that number one spot this week. So if there's any sort of doubt about how the public feels about them or whatever, I think that's kind of out the window. I think a lot of people are looking at this saying the NCAA is just out to get Michigan, and if they are going to punish them, it's pretty hard to imagine any world in which it happens before the college football playoff this year, which Michigan looks like it has a very good chance of making. So I don't necessarily think that we're going to get any sort of news. I just keep explaining to people, if you want to know kind of a rundown of what this is like, just go Google Watergate. I mean, this is a really similar thing with Richard Nixon. Not to get political or anything like that. Not trying to do that, but very, very similar vibes in terms of the pettiness, the ultra competitiveness, and what ultimately could do Michigan in if the NCAA ultimately finds that they did something wrong.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.